Yeah, it's time to sit in the car. Gonna put my seatbelt on. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. It's me, Lou. You're watching Alternate Side Talking here in the car with me, Lou. I'm the host of the show. I'm sitting in my car this morning. I'm on a different street than normal. Just due to the nature of the parking. When you find your spot, you gotta sit, you put your car in it, and then roll with the punches. I did not move my car this morning, like early, 6 o'clock, back to my street, because this is a unique opportunity to park on a street where you only have to park, you have to be in your car for a little while in the middle of the day, and then not have to sit in it all day, or worry about moving it back at the end of the day. It throws my whole schedule off, but, since I'm funder employed, I have time to move the car. So what I'm in right now is a spot, I don't even know the name of the street officially. It might be Poplar here in Brooklyn Heights. But I need to move the car when the street cleaning vehicle comes. So normally, as we know, I have to sit in the car for like an hour minimum, just because I have to move the car, and I have to move the car early to get a spot because there's so much competition, because this is New York. And then I have to sit in the car in order to avoid a ticket. Then I get out of the car, then have to come back and move my car back and sit in it for another hour at the end of the day. Now, what I'm in here is what's, I guess, more common than what I have on my street, which is I have to be in the car at 8:30 a.m., and then I have to sit here until the street sweeper comes. Then I move my car, go around the block, wait for the street sweeping to be done, and then move it back into place. But then I still have to sit in this spot because it's not legal until 10. So I am only moving it once, and if I and I don't have to move it again at the end of the day, but it's in the middle of the day. And so, the question remains, who the hell has the time to move their car or sit in their car for the whole morning? More hashtag slaves of New York rigmarole and unnecessary nonsense, but such is the price we pay for living in the greatest city in the world. I know you all feel that way. Yeah, so this is a picture of the street sign right above me, which is normally not the one I'm seeing. It says Tuesday, 8:30 to 10 a.m. And it's kind of a bummer. Now you can see in my show screen that says parking 8 a.m. to 6, no parking 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., which means that's you got to move your car to the other side of the street deal. But I'm hoping that this thing comes soon. People are already parking here again, so maybe there's a chance the street sweeper won't come. Now, so when I got to my car this morning, I took a couple of pictures and whatnot. But the guy in front of me in the Acura with the Virginia plates, that he probably does so that he doesn't have to pay New York State taxes on his car. I asked him, I said, what's the deal with the street? I tried to be non-threatening. He was very forthcoming. He said that basically what I said, which is you wait until the street sweeper shows up, you move the car, come back, and then you still have to sit it. He said it's a great way to kill a book, right? So he is reading a book in there. It's a great way to kill some time with friends who are watching or perhaps not watching the show. Now, remember, I can't see your chat because the chat function of this app that I'm using does not work. But even though I paid for the functionality, that's on me. That's on me. I could have not done that, but then again, I didn't know it didn't work when I bought it. The guy in front of me just hit the brakes, so maybe he's getting ready to move his car. I'm not sure. Maybe he knows something about the street sweeping that I don't know. I'm going to turn my car on too here, so hopefully it doesn't interrupt the thing here. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, exhaust. Let me close that vent on my car. Haha. Great. So yeah, in the car. Oh, I was going to point out that when I was walking up, there was some graffiti on the street. First, I thought it was just like, street markings when they're going to do work on the street. They come and they on the street. But you don't often see graffiti on the street. It's not done. I'm getting text messages about being fired. Or let go, not fired. I was laid off. I can't say fired because to me it doesn't make a difference. It's a technical thing, being laid off versus fired, regardless. Anyway, so so I found this graffiti on the street, and the graffiti looked like this. Now you'll see clearly it's a insult, and I hope I should have given a spoiler warning to people who are sensitive to obscenity. But I found it interesting that the first word, fuck, sorry, I was having a memory of a people's stupid belief that fuck stood for fornication under consent of king or whatever, which is like when the king wanted people to have more children. But maybe that's because it's so formally written. It's just all capitals. But then the off is written in script, which is, of course, a sort of a dying art among children these days because it's too hard for them. But, were these two words written by two different people? Like one guy wrote fuck and the guy was like, you can't just write fuck. That just sounds like either they're suggesting of sex or just someone saying like, fuck, like I stubbed my toe. But then when you add off, it instantly becomes a command, a message to the reader that you are not wanted here. And, that's, it just has a different meaning. Plus, the fact that it's script. First of all, writing script with spray paint is not easy, right? You need to have control. When I look at the two, the application of the medium to the surface, I'd say they were done by two different people. Like one guy was just like, I'm so mad at the world, fuck. And the other guy was like, well, if you're mad at the world, then tell it where to go. Give me that, would you, good sir? Off. Whoa. Not enough filigree, to be like super wild style stuff, but it was impressive nonetheless. Also you can see, I'm going to bring that back up. The F and the U, the person was either too close to the ground or they didn't have confidence in their outline, so they reused the paint. And then they were like, oh wait, no, okay, just get it over with. CK. And then the person who wrote off, no such hesitation. It's a quick like zoo, loop, loop, loop. It's got all the beauty of script with the message to fuck off. It's the little things in life that I find so heartwarming. I'm in my car once again. It is not great. It is interesting though, this app that I'm using, when I just got a bunch of text messages from my cousin-in-law about my being laid off, it really fucked with the broadcast. It'll be interesting to see if the video actually looks like that with all that freezing and whatnot. Now, at this point, I am regretting a great deal not getting a coffee. Because I haven't had anything to eat. And I'm feeling like, uh-oh, is this the street sweeper? Street sweeper's here. Gotta move the car. Trying not to get distracted. I'm moving. Okay, I'm backing it up. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to move the car. Trying to move the car. See, we're all moving our cars, and we're moving our cars across the street here for the street sweeper. Oh man, that was great. Oh, and then it swept some crap onto my car. Now I'm going to move it right back. That was insane. Okay. Moving it back. I hate having this. I do this. Ugh. This is not. I'm a better driver, man, than this. I'm just not doing a very good job at the moment. I don't want to get in trouble with these plumber guys behind me. Yes. I did it. That was it, everybody. I moved the car. Moved it from where I was to where I am. And then back again. No, that doesn't make sense. I moved it from here to there and then back here. I thought initially I might have to actually go around the block or whatever, but I didn't. Now, the old man, the man who gave me the advice about the street, he actually went down the street. And look, now he's left his spot open to being taken. Here, I'll show you the hole that was left. Oh, it might get... No, cancel. What are you talking about? Let me move this over here. Oh, nope. Is he back? He is back. Yep, there he goes. You can see he's parking. He's moving back into his spot. He's his blinkers on for some reason. His hazards. I'm not sure what that's about. But maybe as I get older, I will learn, because it seems like some old people stuff. Yeah, you got it. Come on back. You can do it. You guys are my witness if he fucks up my car. I don't want this guy to fuck up my car. Oh, okay. Oh. What are you going to do? I'm in the car. Now, I only have 1 full hour to wait in the car. I might try to go get coffee, because it's too brutal not to. It's brutal juice. Now, there was when I was living in Milwaukee, one time, my friend's band opened up. What the fuck was the name of that club? It sucked. There was a real small bar that had live music, and we went to go see a band there, and there's a band there called, they're from Chicago, and they were great, and the song was called, the band was called Brutal Juice, and they had a great song about, it's so stupid, they had a song that was called, the guy was like, this is a song about when I had my bicycle stolen. It's called I Got Me a Bicycle. And it was a really fun song. But then at the end of the show, we were like, oh, you guys are great. Because it was that kind of a venue where you could actually talk to the band afterwards. And we asked the guy, like, what was the name of the band about? And it was a reference to, like, the old O.J. Simpson Hertz running through the airport commercial, because apparently, he's done. This is a dated reference. Renowned murderer, or infamous murderer, O.J. Simpson, was before he was a murderer, he was a football star, and at one point he was part of doing stuff for Hertz, the car rental company, and he would be running through the airport, and he does like a move around someone, and someone he does a move around or witnesses a move in the airport is just like, whoa, brutal juice. And that's where they got the name of the band. Inspiration. Inspiratu. It can come from anywhere. What do you think about that? I think you think it's pretty great. But please don't try to dissuade me of my feelings towards how you feel about things. Anyway, I hope you had a nice Mother's Day to the mothers out there and those who came from mothers, which is all of us. And when I say that, I'm talking about Mother Earth. I hope that you did something nice for the Earth. Not enough people do stuff for Earth Day, which is coming up, I believe. But when it's Mother's Day and Earth Day being so close, it's kind of like having your birthday near Christmas. Do you get something for the Earth for Mother's Day and Earth Day? Seems like overkill. If you ask me, I gotta take these glasses off. They are filthy. I don't know how people who wear glasses do it. It's like always like getting your eyelash oils all over them and stuff. Ugh. Who knew your eyelashes had oils? Ugh. I guess they're hair. Right? All your hair has some manner of sebaceous gland, but who wants to think about it? Not me. That's why I use some pretty severe oil cutting soap on my face, so that my face is as dry as the desert. Because I think that's a healthy way to be. Some people are like, you should let your hair get dirty, it's natural, whatever. If I don't wash my hair for one day, my head gets so itchy. Like unreal. And you know what? That could be the Prel people putting stuff in there to make you have a hair washing addiction. If I was a conspiracy theorist, I might think, yeah, you put your shampoo in your hair, and yeah, it feels good, and your hair feels clean, but we put a chemical in there just like heroin to make you need to wash your hair again, or that you think you're, the advertising industry is shady, but I guess I never thought they would stoop so low. What is it, them, or is it the Prel people? Or is it PERT? Because they'll tell two friends, and they'll tell two friends, and so on, and so on. I do remember that was a very successful campaign for me as a child. I really did want to use Prel or PERT, which one it was. Two fantastic sounding words that don't mean anything. Oops. I guess PERT, it's like perky, but it's also like, hey, you're purty. You're pert. I'll let you get the pipe because you're so pert. I'm a romantic. Speaking of romance, let me delve into this other picture that I have here. I was, where was I going? I guess it was yesterday. I was taking out the recyclables because I do love the Earth, and there is no planet B. I did. I was going out throwing out the recyclables, and I noticed in the already packaged for removal recyclables, the recyclables are in this clear bag. I took out. There was a box in there, and when you can see into the garbage like that, you can be like, oh look, someone bought a camera, or oh look, someone has a baby. There's lots of diaper boxes in the garbage. But yesterday, the deal was there was this in the garbage, and so this is a under the bed restraint system. And I wasn't aware. Whoops, my head's over here. I wasn't aware that was a thing. First of all, I mean, I know about bondage, but I never thought about, like, okay, so you put the straps under the bed, and the bed, it stays there, and that way the person can't really get leverage to free themselves because the straps connect under the bed under your weight. And you can see on the box, a lovely lady is being restrained in her underpants. Yeah, so I was like, well, that's odd, that's in the garbage. Not that someone would buy it. Look, you want to tie up someone you like, someone consensually is like, you know what? I like a feeling of helplessness. I like someone else to be in control. It gets me off. Maybe they're a high-powered executive during the day, and they want to feel helpless because when they're in their work environment, they're such masters of everything they see that they like to relinquish control to a trusted booty partner. But so this is, again, it's that not in the world of kink, it's not so outlandish that you need to even discuss it. However, I appreciate their wanting to recycle, and also not wanting to destroy the evidence of their kinky purchase. It's like they clearly want people to know there's someone who's maybe into something a little sexy in this building. That's why when I have sex, I throw the condoms out the window. I want people to know people in this neighborhood are fucking. But so yeah, they to this box, and they recycled it. So yeah, they're sending a message. Yes, I love to have sexy play with my preferred partner, and we have a consensual sexual relationship with all kinds of safe words and limits and experimentation and pushing the envelope. But they don't want to dominate the earth with their garbage, and they're willing to recycle. So, might be a dom in the bed, but a sub for the earth. Nothing wrong with that. You'd never want to be the dom with the earth. Who was it? Ann Coulter, who said that God gave us the earth to do with as we wish. We should rape it. Paraphrasing. I don't know the exact quote off the top of my head. But I disagree with that. I think for the most part, the earth should be left alone. Clearly, humans still need to use parts of the earth for things like cell phone batteries, like all the rare metals. A-okay. Rape it. But in general, like trees and things like that, you don't want to be raping them. Well, you can use them occasionally, but you need to put things back. You need to recycle. What a world. It's the only one we've got. Not a lot. Hey, doop, scooby, dooby, dooby, doo. Oh, speaking of that, yesterday I was watching, but that was a mangled version of the Different Strokes theme song, the famous sitcom starring Gary Coleman as the black person of short stature with kidney problems, who was adopted by a rich white family, which is, of course, every young black child's dream. Well, before I get to my next point, I'm going to show you. So this is where I am. I'm here. Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Cristo. This is where I am. I'm right by the BQE. You can see all these people. Where are they going? Why are they going there? It's just a constant hum of traffic right next to this lovely retaining wall. That's all the facade is falling off of. And over here we have the watchtower buildings, the Jehovah's Witnesses. They are selling those, and you can see they're starting to paint the outside and redo everything. So it's interesting times over here now that the Jehovah's Witnesses are moving out. Where are they going? probably upstate New York to build more of their weirdo compounds, but neither here nor there. So anyway, about theme songs, Jody and I were watching this Me TV, which is like some sort of weird old school TV channel. They show Hogan's Heroes and Alice and all these 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s TV programs. So it's sort of a throwback. And it's like a local channel. And we were watching WKRP in Cincinnati. And I was surprised I actually knew as much of the song as I did, which shouldn't surprise me because I watched a just shit ton of that show when I was growing up. Metric, I'm not sure. Just a lot of that show. If it was you were able to weigh it as a physical thing and not just a visual medium. But I was surprised. It's a weird melancholy theme song for a sitcom, about and it's clearly a letter to like talking to some former lover about how he ended up in Cincinnati, and he's like tired of packing and unpacking, town to town, up and down the dial. Maybe you and me were never meant to be, but maybe think of me once in a while. I'm in WKRP in Cincinnati. I mean, it's like a sad opening sitcom tune, but still good. Still good. I mean, it doesn't have like the promise of an Alice theme song, which is like all about she's gonna make it, or Mary Tyler Moore for that matter. Alice is all about like coming to a new town. She's a new face. She's gonna make it. Even though making it for her is she's a waitress in a super shit diner in Arizona. Which again is sort of a depressing premise, but that show way outlasted its worthwhileness as a show, I'll say. Like, Vic Tayback, gotta love Mel. But, yeah, it's hard to believe that, by today's standards, that show would have been canceled a long time. Not, like, I have no idea how many seasons it went. Can't check because a universal reference is being used as the broadcasting device here. But, yeah, I mean, it's like, once the son became old and weird looking and kind of a gawky goofball, and the other waitresses became sadder and sadder as they aged, the whole thing just kind of was a real drag. But not to say that I didn't watch all of it, because there wasn't anything else to do back then. Caveman times. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to turn this fan down. I don't need the fan. It's 66 degrees outside. I should have my window open, except for the fact that it would sound like the highway all the time. But yeah, you got your positive theme songs, even if the show is depressing. WKRP in Cincinnati itself was not. Was it depressing? Oh, the thing that I really found interesting, and I tweeted about this last night, was that the episode we watched was called like Bailey's Big Chance or something like that. And you remember that Bailey is the sort of like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, young ingenue station person who does all the advertising scheduling. But it was basically the premise of the movie Anchorman, where Les Nessman, famously the news reporter of WKRP in Cincinnati, who's a mega dweeb, proto-nerd stereotype, they're looking for someone else to do like some of the news, and he's very protective of his job, and he's very angry about it. And Bailey puts in her tape, and Andy, the station manager, is like, that's not bad. No, and of course, Andy is the sort of down-home country dude who is sort of fish out of water in Cincinnati to some degree, like, just because he sounds country. It's not that he's like what is all this? You know, it's like, they're like, you know, that would be a different show where they put a like semi-mentally disabled country guy who has almost no education in charge of a radio station. He's just like, you're telling me I speak into this and people can hear my voice? Oh, golly. You know, like, are you wearing a snake for a belt? I caught it this morning. No, that's not a TV show. But anyway, so Bailey does get her chance, and she's really good at it. And her and Les Nessman become sort of rivals. And then Herb, the ad sales guy, who's like the super cheesy, super horny dude on the show, who's always just like on the make for Lonnie Anderson's character, the buxom blonde who's like, you know, knows how to work it, but she doesn't take any shit. You know what I'm saying? Herb stands up for Les, and it's sort of like boys club nonsense. And Les is like, you know, you can't be doing the radio. You need to have a certain kind of deep voice. It's a man's job. So basically, the entire premise of Anchorman, minus the love interest thing that you have to have in all today's modern movies, but plus it's a sitcom, and I think also plus Les Nessman is a sexless incel, clearly, during NWKRP in Cincinnati, whereas there's always the whiff of romance possibility between Andy and Bailey. You know, oftentimes when a show has that whiff, it's sort of what keeps people watching, like, will they, won't they? But when they do, and people are like, yay, they got together, yay, yay, yay. It's always painful when the show decides to, like, let's break them up. It's not working. People are too happy. We need that conflict. Now that they're, you know, break up, now we can have new conflict between them. Don't do that. It is a bummer. Because sitcoms then are all about, like, sitcoms that do that, I feel like there's the promise of relationship in, like, the pre get together, and then when they get together, you're like, it's satisfied. Oh, they work together. Working together is a tough plate to do your romance, but it's good, and that can happen. And then they're like, oh no, it broke up, and it's like, oh yeah, love's not real. And we're breaking up for really shitty reasons, but cool, good for you. I was gonna say, when I did my mentally disabled Southern radio station manager, you mean when you play them songs, someone already put that song and sang it, and it was somehow put in that little tiny box, and you just plug it in your machine here and it plays the song? Oh, I do declare. You know, back around the holler, we used to have what I called a frog jamboree. Anyway, but you know that guy? People, they underestimate him. Sometimes he's got a nugget of wisdom that people are like, you know what? My big city ways, I've lost sight of the real things that matter. Now get the fuck out of my office. But I was going to say, almost immediately after that, WKRP in Cincinnati, there was an episode of Gomer Pyle, USMC, which is, of course, a sitcom about a sort of dim-witted, good-hearted dude who was a mechanic on the Andy Griffith Show, but such a beloved character that they spun him off into his own show. And Gomer Pyle goes with Sergeant Carter to Washington, D.C., and people are like, make sure you say hi to the president, Sergeant Pyle, or Private Pyle. And Sergeant Carter's there to make out with some hot, 50s bombshell lady. And they go, and Private Pyle, of course, plays his role, Jim Nabors, as a sort of dumbass who innocently bothers the shit out of regular people. Which, no matter how many times I watch it, it's still funny. Like, to some degree, the incessant sort of like, people be like, yes, I get it. Well, the Washington Monument is actually 5 inches taller than you said. It was pretty funny. And he ends up accidentally going into the White House. Or when he gets lost in his White House tour, gets separated, and he actually ends up going into the Oval Office because he had his White House map upside down. So he was trying to go to the East Wing, but he ended up in the West Wing. And when he gets in there, he's like, oh, golly, it's the president, because the chair is moving. But then it turns out to be a cleaning woman is in the chair. And she gets the Secret Service, and he gets arrested. And he calls Sergeant Carter from the White House to say, like, I'm in the Oval Office, blah, blah, blah. And then they both get called into Secret Service and interrogated, and then it turns out that, everything gets cleared up. And as they're walking away from the White House, Gomer Pyle is almost hit by a car, and it turns out that the president was in that car. And but then no one will believe him that he met the president. But when he goes to tell Sergeant Carter that no one will believe him, interrupting his date with this like bombshell, she is so impressed that she invites him to dinner, ruining Sergeant Carter's plans once again. And of course, Sergeant Carter can never articulate exactly what he wants in a way that Gomer Pyle will understand. Now, I did think that it was funny because the bombshell, she's like a brunette, and he's like, oh, I like you so much, even when you're a brunette. She's like, yeah, I found out that we have the same amount of fun as blondes after all, which I thought was a kind of a funny joke. There's a lot of funny stuff on that show. And then after that, I watched Hogan's Heroes. So much good television. And of course, that show is super absurd and like about such a dark topic. But I enjoy it. It's very silly. Especially, that was my introduction to Richard Dawson, not Dawkins. The preeminent atheist guy was not on Hogan's Hero. But Richard Dawson, yes, was on that show as sort of like the English prisoner of war who helped with all the escapes. And then years later, when he was the original host of Family Feud, I was just like, what? That's the guy from Hogan's Heroes. And I was very pleased with myself for knowing that. And for years, I was like, that guy was on one episode of Columbo. That guy was, I remember sitting with my Aunt Pat when I was my first year of college, and, her natural children were all in college of their own, and I was going to college in the town that they lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I just thought it was, I would sit with her watching Remington Steele. That was her favorite show at the time. And every episode, I'd be like, that guy was on an episode of The Love Boat. That guy was on an episode of Fantasy Island. That guy was in an episode of Gilligan's Island. That guy, I'm sure she was like, great. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, that's how I used all my brain power, was constantly filling it with weird references and knowledge about TV that nobody cared about. And still no one cares about. Now that you got all the answers to your life in your pocket, why bother knowing anything? Oh my God. Can you believe I have to sit in this fucking car for another half an hour? What a fucking drag. Ay. At least if I got up super early and did it, I would be done by now. Or I would have been done. Whatever. I wouldn't have had to do that awful parallel parking that I did such a terrible job at. I'm being rough on myself. I need to give myself a break. I'd like to give myself a break in the femur. Because people have a lot of sympathy for people with broken legs. Anyway, once this is over, I'm going to be going back to my apartment. I got to record some voiceovers. I'm doing voiceover auditions again. So if you have a voiceover project you'd like me to do, please hit me up at loureeds@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to talk to you about it. Now, don't ask me how much I charge. The charging part is the hard part for me. So you'd be ripping me off. You could totally rip me off. Take advantage of me. I'm having a mental lapse. Anyone who knows me will know that's a reference to Car 54, Where Are You? Another television show, which I love, and has a great theme song, which I will not sing, but it's very, not only of the time, because the references in it, Khrushchev, Idlewild Airport, things like that. It's just a great theme song, and a great show, underrated show, with Fred Gwynn and Al Grandpa Munster Lewis. So many stuff. So many things. Nipsey Russell. So many stars. Now there's a giant truck behind us, but I don't have to move. Oh, anyway, yeah. So, yeah, I'll do voiceovers for it. The website that I go to do my voiceover auditions, most of the jobs are like $100. Not a great and lucrative source of income. It's just more of like a thing I like to do. To make a living in voiceover work, you really have to just be grinding at it all the time, and then you also have to luck out and get like a voiceover gig on a cartoon, and then have people really like you and do more cartoons. And I know people who do that for a living, but it's not common. Yeah, that's fair to say. Oh, let's see. What else do I have here in my car? I'm going to undo my seatbelt, and hopefully it doesn't beep too much. Let's see. I've got this here. This is a CD that I bought for Jody one year. I think it was a sort of a last-minute Christmas gift that I bought at CVS. I want my new wave with a sort of Nagel-esque painting, and of course the pink with green and random slashes. The character has a sort of inference of a feather earring and the adamant painted lines in the face. Let me read to you the list of the tracks on here. This is fascinating. You're going to want to stick around. First song, I Want Candy by Bow Wow Wow. Song 2, Turning Japanese by the Vapors. Song 3, Girls on Film by Duran Duran. Great early Duran Duran track. Also, video featured nudity, which MTV did not block for a while. It was a funny thing about MTV. Back in the day, they used to actually show a video, and then people would be like, those are tits. So, like, after it had been running for a month, all of a sudden a new version would come out where they were, like, in the early days of blurring. So it would be, like, black or some fucked up shit going on over the breasts. Like the song, I don't know if it's on here. Is it on here? Tubes? No. 1 in a Million Girl, that song. She's a beauty, a 1 in a million girl. 1 in a million girl. That song was all like super weird, and the music video was like this, almost like a dominatrix or some woman in like this crazy leather or vinyl outfit, kind of taking a kid through a carnival. I'm sure other people have much more clear recollection of this video, but there's one part where it's like a fun house or a carnival or something, and the boy in the episode is riding in like a cart, and the woman is holding him, and they come through these giant doors that are breasts, and it was like that forever, and then all of a sudden, and they weren't like big old delicious titties. No, they were like it was just like circles with clear areola and nipple, but it wasn't like big honking. It wasn't like drawn titty. It was sort of like the inference of breasts and nipples, but not super graphic or anything. It wasn't a photo. It was like airbrush almost painting, and yeah, and then they would blur it out. So that part of the video would just be like almost entirely blurred out until they got past the door, the breast doors. And then I remember the Humpty Dance. When the Humpty Dance by Digital Underground came out, they used to have the version that used to play MTV was fully no bleeping, you know, and then they changed it to have all these crazy sound effects in it. So instead of saying like I once got busy in a Burger King bathroom, it used to go I once got in a bathroom, and I'd be like, okay, so got busy is somehow offensive, and then Burger King, like you can't reference a brand in your rap song, and bathroom also may have been a thing because once kids hear a song, they gotta go do it. Like people are like getting busy in a Burger King bathroom. Digital Underground did it. Let's go, everyone fucking in the Burger King bathroom. Everyone in the bathroom. I've always found that disappointing because I love filth, and I don't appreciate it when people try to mask it with sound effects from the most generic sound effect catalog in the world. Yeah, I once got in a bathroom. Yeah. I was trying to do the famous scream. Not the painting, but the one that's in every single commercial. Yeah! Not doing it justice. But you know what I'm talking about. Back to this CD. One Way or Another by Blondie. Great song. I Know What... Love My Way by Psychedelic Furs. Another pretty solid tune. Slow, but good. Then I Know What Boys Like by The Waitresses. Mexican Radio, Wall of Voodoo. Very weird band, but good. And I was a big fan of the lead singer of that band, whose name I cannot remember. I want to say Lee Atwaters, but that's not right. Then Boys Don't Cry. I think that's the one. There's the Boys Don't Cry track on here is for some reason a super bizarro version of that song. It's like it has like a 3-minute prelude where it's just sort of like an instrumental version of the song. It's like takes forever and it's not fun to listen to. It's almost like a reggae dub version of it or something. It's like never ending. And then you got I Got You by Split Enz, another band that I love, but for some reason never caught on, even though it was really good. Come on, man. I Got You, History Never Repeats, 6 Months in a Leaky Boat, all that shit. It's good stuff. This Charming Man by the Smiths. Just today, or last night, a friend of mine, Luke, he posted a picture of like Jake Tapper giving some sort of commencement speech at a college where he basically said, it's easy to be mean. Being mean is weak. Being nice is better. And I said, Morrissey said it better as like it's so easy to laugh. It's so easy to hate. It takes guts to be gentle and kind. And someone else was like, yeah, well, Morrissey also said that Germany had so many rapes because they let in a lot of foreigners. Just because somebody says a terrible thing doesn't mean you have to bring it up whenever someone says a nice thing about them. Maybe you do. I don't know. Morrissey certainly has put his foot in his mouth plenty of times. He's just human. He just wants to belong. Rock Lobster B-52's classic. one of the only songs that instantly translates to every generation that hears it, children and adults alike. Goody Two Shoes, Adamant. Save It for Later, English Beat. Great song. Used to love that song. I Melt With You, Modern English. Great song. I'm trying to think of the other song. I had that album. I got it for my birthday one year. No, I'm thinking of... there's a great song in here, and I can't remember it, but I'm being hijacked by Porno for Pyro's Tahitian Moon, you know? And then now also Echo and the Bunnymen, Killing Moon. But, yeah, I really did like that Modern English album. The Metro by Berlin, famously the lead singer of Berlin, had listed on her, on the first album that they made, that included the Riding on the Metro. It's like vocals and BJs, which I, as a young man, was like, what? Clutch the pearls. She's admitting to oral sex delights. Progressive. And then, of course, they went on to do the theme song for Top Gun, Take My Breath Away, which is a karaoke favorite of mine, I'll tell you that much. Take my breath away. You can see why everyone asks for it by name. Then you have I Can't Get No Satisfaction, the Devo cover of the Rolling Stones song. And I recently read a thing where they were when they were making Devo was making their first album. They went to, they had to get permission to do that version. And the Rolling Stones were kind of like, the fuck? What? And then the band actually went and presented the song for Mick Jagger in person. And that they said he sat there stone-faced and then like halfway through got up and was like, yeah, I love this song. I love this version of the song. It's fucking great. And did all his like weird like wow, wow dances. That must have been a great feeling. Then The Killing Moon, Echo and the Bunnymen, referenced earlier when the goddamn Modern English song, I can't remember what it was called. And then Pump It Up by Elvis Costello, which is a very popular song. So this is a good compilation, minus that one weird Cure thing. And I don't think I ever actually opened it. I think I just cracked it open and pulled the CD out. The CD is no longer in here. I don't know where it is. It may be in the car. We could listen to it. Let's see. This says... Nope, there's no reference to why the Cure song is a weird version of that song. I don't understand. This was... Apparently the CD was made by a company called Music Space. Visit Music Space today. Not a sponsor, but they could be, so maybe give them a freebie. I don't even know if it's still on thing, but it says it's seen on TV. There was a great video that I found recently that was like, it was a commercial for like a punk rock CD compilation, and it was just like two punks lying in bed. It's such a fucking funny commercial. I wish I had pre-thought to download it because it's just so funny. But this is maybe a few months ago. But it was like this punk girl and guy, and the guy really looks more like a caveman than a punk. And she's like, "What are you listening to?" And he's like, "It's this great new CD called like Punk Hits." And then the songs are all like Huey Lewis and the News and like not punk at all. It feels like it may have been a parody just because of how stupid it was, but I don't think it was. I think it was an actual thing. Let's see what else we have over here. We have Funkadelic Maggot Brain. We have Minor Threat. We have Pavement Wowie Zowie. These are all CDs that someone in my building threw out. Can you believe it? With all of the CD playing that's going on these days? But because our car is it's old. We still have a CD player. But it plays MP3s if you put them in on CD form. So It all works out. Don't worry about us. We're just fine. Let's see. I'm going to put the CD player on and change it to, which CD is this one? Let's see. And we'll see if we can't, I mean, I know, probably some sort of musical copyright deal. See, it says it's reading, so any minute now.
Strictly rubber dubbing at the pub.
Okay, this is going to be...
Explosion. Coming to the nation with version.
This is a reggae
Now
CD.
murderous.
This is a dub reggae CD. Again,
Strictly hard music.
thrown out by someone in my building. Okay, that's not the only one to hear. So let's see if the new wave CD is in here. Man, oh man, a Shevitz.
West Memphis, Arkansas.
This is some weird. Oh, this was some weird Black Flag. Weird Black Flag CD. Like a different remixed versions of all these Black Flag songs. Rise above, we're gonna rise above. Yeah, I apologize a great deal. That's not what I wanted to hear at all. And then I have the Pixies Doolittle in here. Don't know what's going on in this car. Let's see, what else? Let's see. Yeah, someone in my building threw out like, I don't know, probably would have been in the 90s or 2000s, thousands of dollars worth of CDs. And I didn't take them all because I'm not a garbage bag hoarder, but I did get the Trojan dub box set and then the reggae set and the Jamaican R&B set. And there's lots of good songs there. Lots of Duke Reed. Yeah, Derek Morgan. Lots of famous reggae dudes. However, you know, I find that if I listen to too much reggae or dub or whatever, it becomes insufferable. Now, to quote Morrissey once again, I believe Morrissey was once quoted saying, reggae is vile. I disagree, but that dude makes me laugh. But what can you say about a super weird asexual dude who feels so much and yet despises immigrants? What more can be said? And yet loves Mexicans because they saved his career. All of Latin America. Now, I wonder if you asked him an indelicate question about immigration into the United States, like did Morrissey vote for Trump? Possibly. I mean, he is a xenophobe. And yet, I've watched a concert where he was in Mexico where he said, "I wish I had been born Mexican," which is so funny. And of course the audience was like, "Yes, we wish you were born Mexican too." But I think they might regret that if they came true. Now I've always wanted to see not Elvez. There used to be the Mexican Elvez. Oh, and there's like Mexercy or something like that, which is like the Mexican cover band of Morrissey songs. And the Smiths, I'm sure. But, yeah. He's a complicated guy. Much like Bill Maher, who some people don't like. Or Bill Hitchens. Just because he hated women and didn't think they were funny doesn't mean the guy had no valid points about the role of religion in American society or the globe. You know, it's like Two-Face from DC Comics, you know? He's got on one side, he's a reasonable businessman. On the other side, a criminally deformed madman. Not that he wasn't criminally deformed, he was deformed, but a criminal madman. Oh my God. This is, I think this may be a record for how much I've talked to myself, at least in a publicly recorded way. Typically, I spend most of my day accusing myself in the mirror of a litany of crimes and problems that I cannot solve. Just mostly accusations all day long. A lot of staring in the mirror and going like, why? Why? It's a healthy thing to do, I think, every once in a while. I mean, maybe not every day, multiple times a day, in between crying jags. But I think, you know, if you're gonna be home, waiting for your family to come home from their jobs while you are unemployed, there are worse things you can do than constantly repudiate yourself for your lack of manhood. Yeah. It's a popular pastime. Popular pastime. Perhaps. Alliteration. So, if you're in the New York area, this Thursday, I'm doing an improv show. Come see my improv show at the People's Improv Theater. It's going to be a humdinger. It's the 1940s improv show that we do, the Sci-Fi Radio. I'll be in my ill-fitting suit with my Father's Day gift hat from several years ago, and I will talk to you after the show because I'm lonely. I like to talk to people. I prefer talking to people than to talking to myself because, as we know, there's usually a downward spiral into shame and other emotions. But yeah, it's a good time. You come see the show at the People's Improv Theater this Thursday. Tickets are relatively cheap, and this is our 40th show, which is kind of a big deal for us because we only do it once a month. So many shows at the People's Improv Theater. At this point, we've gotten kind of good at it. Kind of. Still improv. If it's 25% okay, you saw a great improv show. Any higher, if you think the improv show is better than 25% okay, you're probably on drugs, which is cool. Bring all the drugs you want. When I was in Midtown yesterday, sub-Midtown, I walked past the MedMen store again. The MedMen is a chain of drug stores. Is that the guy who lives in my building? I don't know. He's acting weird. What's he doing? It is him. It is strange. He's looking at me weird. Anyway, the MedMen store is a chain of medical marijuana stores that is in like Nevada, Colorado, California, and a couple other legal states or medical marijuana states. And I wanted to go in and see what's the story, because it's the first medical marijuana place I've seen in New York. And as we know, New York has kind of crummy medical marijuana law where there's like very limited conditions that you can get a medical marijuana license or a prescription for, and doctors are sort of like, there's not many doctors that do it, and it's not like in California where it can be like I have anxiety, you have to be like dying or have some sort of like wasting disease here in New York, and all the medical marijuana providers are like, yeah, we're going broke because there's not enough patients. So now the MedMen opened up, and they have a very nice facility you can actually see in, versus the one in California where you can't see in at all. It could be like a place where you come and get taken, like the movie Taken, or turned out. It's the same premise. But school bus, man, the school bus. But the problem with the MedMen is it's not inviting. I mean, you can see they have sort of like, they're trying to encourage people to wear these like MedMen legalize NY shirts, because once it's legal, then they can really make buku money, you know? But yeah, I think I might go in next week. just so they can tell me that I can't come in without a prescription, but just to say what the story is. Like if I had a wasting disease, like what would I go for? Sativa, indica. What are you gonna do? I'm sure they'll be. Well, maybe they'll help me role play. Like pretend I have a wasting disease. I have some sort of inability to absorb nutrients through my intestines. So, let's role play it. Oh, my stomach. I need weed. What do I get? That kind of thing. I'm sure they'll be happy to walk through a scenario with me. Maybe they'll let me do several scenarios. Maybe they'll come to my improv show and be like, that guy was great in our store, making us believe that he had a wasting disease or some sort of chronic pain illness. Yeah. What was? Oh, I was going to say that Chuck Schumer, our illustrious politician here in New York State, who never saw a sort of ridiculous cause he didn't want to get hyped up about. His latest thing that I saw, he had he's fighting fentanyl because he's really brave that way, and he's also related to Amy Schumer, the funny comedian lady. But Chuck Schumer, he had this picture of China, and he was just like holding it up, and they're like basically begging China to stop sending fentanyl to the U.S. because it killed so many people last year, and that's probably just not going to happen. It feels like, China is a place where if the government wants to crack down, it's like brutal and people go to jail or get shot or whatever. And then, but the rest of the time, they're just like, oh, it's happening in your country? Okay. Some token arrests. No, what's it? You don't like having plaster of Paris in your baby formula? Stupid Americans. What's that? You don't like to hear about thousands of dead pigs in our rivers? You don't have that there? Propaganda. But I can remember at one point when I was working at Columbia University, I got into the idea of research chemicals. Now, this is a subset of drugs where people, they're not yet illegal. They're like a reformulation of another drug, or they're just sort of like a new drug that no one's ever tried really before. And you can actually order from labs in India, Africa, and places in China all kinds of drugs by like a large amount, right? And they were selling all these weird psychedelics and all these weird amphetamines that you could buy. And I was like, I mean, I don't do those things, but that'd be kind of neat to have a pound of psychedelics in my house. Sure, that sounds like a great idea. I'm not saying I always have great ideas, but so it didn't surprise me. And then there also, you can also get, there's like a very few synthetic opioids, but there are a few, and to my understanding is that they're very dangerous. Imagine that. But it's an interesting time back then where you could really like go to a website, buy plant food, and then trip all weekend or whatever. The two, was it methadone and mephedrone? And one of them was called, I think mephedrone was known as Meow Meow. And it was a super vasoconstrictor and like really rough on your arteries. And so like kids in England who are way more advanced in the research chemicals field as guinea pigs were like, their legs were turning blue because the blood vessels were getting wrecked down to their legs. But they had a great time doing it. Party! And it's so stupid. Drug culture is so dumb, but it's also fascinating. I'd love to read about it. Especially like, oh man, it's like people would post pictures of themselves. Like, here I am injecting what was that? Methoxetamine, which is a ketamine drug style. So it's like a drug that sort of like makes you feel better and makes you not depressed. And I was just like, I can't even imagine at any point in my life being like, you know what, it's a great idea. Get this powder, shoot it in my arm. Ever. It's just never occurred to me. I mean, for some people, it clearly occurs, and they're just like, I just want to get high. And I guess good for you. I did see there's a funny. I haven't watched the show Brockmire on IFC, starring that dude who does the voice of Apu, the troubling Apu. Doesn't matter. I know you're all screaming the name at home. Good for you. But he does the alcohol tampon thing, which is one of those things that I read about maybe 15, 20 years ago, and was just like, why would anyone do that? It was around the same time as the butt chug thing, where people would take a funnel and then pour beer or hard liquor up their butts, because there are so many blood vessels close to the skin that you can absorb drugs or alcohol easier, and you get high and you don't actually have it on your breath, and it bypasses all these like safeguards like your stomach. It's I don't want to say popular, but it is a definite way that people administer certain drugs to themselves. Crystal meth, cocaine. Like, if you want to do that, you can put it up there. You don't get the, sort of face related issues like drippy nose or any of that, because you might get drippy butt, but I don't know if that's true. I don't think it is. I think you would just put cocaine up your butt would feel cold probably, or numb, and then you would be like wanting to talk a lot probably. But so Brockmire in the commercial takes bourbon and puts it up his butt in a tampon, because that was the thing. It was like boys supposedly were taking alcohol, vodka soaked tampons and sticking them up their butts, and the alcohol absorbs faster. It's a great idea, but I just thought it was very funny because he put it up there in the TV show, and he was like, "Ooh, ooh, ow, 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 ow," which is probably how it would feel. It probably burns like crazy to put alcohol up your asshole. But hashtag worth? I think so. I mean, if you want to get drunk, why not? I mean, you could drink it. Then you got to deal with all the mixers, or just the stigma of being the loser with a pocket full of rye, unless you're, Philip Marlowe, who somehow made that look cool. I wonder if there are outtakes from like The Big Sleep, or the Maltese. No, it's The Big Sleep, where he bangs all those ladies that he's like hanging out with in the middle of the day. I mean, it's implied, but I'm more of a show than tell kind of guy. So, they could have done some tasteful silhouettes, people banging in wherever the hell Philip Marlowe was banging people back then. I got a bottle of rye in my pocket. Oh yeah? Well, we're closed. Come again soon, stranger. I just might. I'm not going to. She had a crazy bush. I don't think he would be that judgmental. The bushes were crazy back then. Bushes be crazy. My time is almost up in the car. I'm excited. I've been talking to myself for an hour and 15 minutes now. All manner of topics we've covered. I've really been appreciating the inability to see people's texts and whatnot. Putting away the CDs. The CDs like to pop out of the car, out of this little side pocket, scatter themselves around the car. They take a tour of the car. Oh, look what I found. Found some good Pokemon cards. I'm going to be selling these on eBay later. Woobat, probably a very expensive card these days. I think they may have been discontinued. Mr. Mime. Now, Mr. Mime is a famous Pokemon because when the Pokemon Go app was released and people were flipping out about Pokemon Go stuff, I believe you could only get Mr. Mime if you were in England on the app. And people would spoof their location, because that's something important to do, so they could get Mr. Mime. And then you can get your account banned. Is it worth banning your Pokemon Go account to get Mr. Mime? Probably. Then we got Prinplup, which I believe is probably an evolution of Piplup. He has an ice beam. If I got heads on a coin flip, I paralyzed your active Pokemon. Don't sleep on Prinplup. And then Scatterbug. Now the fun thing about Pokemon is that they can typically only say the words. They can only say their name in different intonations to say the words they're trying to say. So if you were like, "How are you feeling, Scatterbug?" Scatterbug. Right? You'd be like, "Oh, Scatterbug, you're hilarious! Oh, Scatterbug, use your string shot, go! Scatterbug!" You get the idea. Now, I've just basically done every single episode of Pokemon ever watched or created for you. Oh, Scatterbug! You tried your best! That was the episode where Scatterbug was eaten by a bird. But that's a part of the Pokemon world that we never see. Is that the day and the day-to-day struggle, the in and out, the kill or be killed life of Scatterbug. I would like to see that. I truly would. I mean, by that, I mean just Pokemon being murdered. In general. No big deal. Anyway, I'm going to get out of my car. It's 9:54. I'm going to trust that no one's going to come and give me a ticket in the next minute. I'm taking a chance. But if they do, you know what I say to them? Oh, yeah. This has been Lou, sitting in his car. Thanks for watching. I'm here, unfortunately, most Tuesdays. And next time I probably won't be sitting on this hill by the BQE. I'll be right back in front of my house, where I belong. This is a weird street. I don't think I like it here. We'll see you guys later. How do I turn this off again? Is this? It is. See ya. Bye bye. Do 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 doodly doo do 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 doodly doo do 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 do.